What's going on, guys? It is Ninja Cowboy, your favorite Apex Legends coach, back after like 8 months or something making a video. I think my last video I dropped was like my 18 kill game with crypto that I got accidentally, and that was my kill record, so I just thought I'd throw it up, and I haven't done a video since just because I've had a lot going on. I just moved back to the United States from Japan. I changed jobs. I picked up a coaching job with a team that was in the playoffs. Just so many things. I was streaming on Trovo, trying to get partnered there, and it's like really hard to get partnered there with watch hours and everything. So, a lot of moving parts, but we're back. I was coaching Did We Make It? We had a roster shakeup, so I don't know if we can still call ourselves Did We Make It or if we're going to change names or whatever the case is, but this is going to be an analysis of the team that I was coaching, and I'm going to do a couple other videos on some of the other teams like Complexity. They were the winners, Rogue, NRG, TSM, a couple of the favorites, and I'm going to throw those up here as well in the coming weeks and days. Just get some content out there before the winter circuit kicks off to help you guys get some information. Hopefully this can help educate you as well as assist, maybe even help the teams themselves in the videos improve their own play. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so for this entire video, we're going to be looking at Stunny. Stunny is the IGL/Wraith player for Did We Make It? He was the main perspective that I could watch because the other two, one was streaming at first and then stopped streaming due to some connection issues, and the other one just doesn't stream as frequently, so we're going to be looking at Stunny here. First thing I want to get into, I think something very important that a lot of teams kind of undervalue or discredit when it comes to the competitive level of play is how fast you get off your first rotation. So if you're dropping, especially if you're dropping contested, so in our case, Did We Make It? We were dropping Skyhook, which if any of you keep up with the competitive scene, then Skyhook is a drop zone for not only Rogue, it was CLG, but CLG didn't qualify for playoffs, and then it's a drop spot for Liquid with the addition of Alberlele. So we took the northeastern side along with the tunnel that's inside the mountains. So knowing that, you've got Epicenter to the east, which is Complexity's drop, a very aggressive team. You've got Liquid, which as of late, when they picked up Alberlele, they've become much more aggressive, much more willing to take fights. And then you've got Rogue, who in this tournament specifically, they were playing very aggressively, very willing to take fights, looking for 3v3s. So knowing that, you should especially be getting off your drops really quick. But as an IGL, the first thing you should be looking to do, set a drop dead time for your team. So when are you absolutely going to be out of your first drop zone, rotating to wherever you need to rotate to, no matter what your loot is? As long as you have a gun, ammo, armor, and maybe a backpack and some heals. I mean, the last ones are even questionable because you'll pick those up along the way. You need to be getting off that first drop. The reason being, you don't want to be the team that's caught outside of zone, racing to get yourself back inside of zone, while all the other teams are already set up in whatever positions they want to be playing in, looking to hunt you down. So let's get right into it here. The volume's going to be a little low, and we're going to jump right into it. So as you see, he's sitting up at the tower that is on the northeastern side of Skyhook over by Tunnel. All three of them are here, but they are just now, with a minute left, they've been looting here for about a minute and a half. They're just now talking about where they need to rotate and when they need to leave. But look at how slow they're moving. This was a big issue for us in the playoffs. A lot of times we were getting off our drops super late, didn't really have an idea of where we wanted to go, and that cost us multiple times. I know one time specifically, Complexity caught us off guard in a rotation and got us in an out of zone fight. And we were not only fighting Complexity, but we were also fighting the zone, and that's never something that you want to do. Listening here, you can hear that they're going into the planning phase, and someone actually runs right up on them, gets a quick pick on Tech. Shout out Tech, sorry man. That was actually the first point acquired in the whole playoffs, was our kill on the Tech, and then Stunny goes back to clean him up, so pretty clean there. So another big talking point is if you're going to be running a composition team comp, which for people who aren't as experienced in Apex Legends, that means which 3 legends you're going to be playing amongst your team. If you're not going to be running a recon character, i.e. Pathfinder, Crypto, or Bloodhound, who can scan beacons and give you information on the next zone, then you really need to be getting off those rotations quick, and you either need to piggyback a team that is running a recon character, or just playing hard edge and looking for teams off rotation that you can pick off pretty easily. Tech right there in that instance, the Crypto, was a pretty easy pick, only because I don't think he got any audio on us running up to him. There's no way. I know Tech is smart enough he's absolutely a good player. He would know better than to just jump out in front of a team. So I'm assuming he got no audio on that play. So that's kind of a rip for him, but that was a really good start for us. It kind of boosted the morale, and shook off those first kill nerves. So that was definitely a good thing for us. Another big talking point is definitely my, I personally, I don't know if any other coaches would agree or disagree with this, but I have a 2 up, 1 down rule. So generally speaking, in 90% of situations when you are in your post fight where you're going to be looting, healing, reloading, things like that, I always ensure that there's a 2 up, 1 down. So 2 players are up and they are watching, looking for third parties, posturing up in your position, extending out to make sure no teams rotate in for free. And then 1 can be down looting, maybe doing slow healing if you don't have any big heals. That means popping cells and syringes, things of that nature. So that way you always are ready for that third party to come in. Obviously in some situations, if you need to jump in, grab an armor swap or something along those lines, maybe you need ammo desperately, something like that. There's always circumstantial situations that change, but I think rule of thumb, 2 up, 1 down is usually a pretty good way to play to keep yourselves alive and keep your eyes out for third parties. So one of the biggest things that I worked on with Stunny specifically, but the whole team in general, was posturing up and not being afraid to scout outside of your position. So like you see here, his teammates were back in survey and they needed some information on a rotation, so they sent Stunny out to scout. Now the only problem that we kept running into is Stunny was going up to positions and calling them clear or free before he actually had information on them, and that cost us a lot of really easy rotations. Like this one here, I think just a second ago, you hear him say it's free, it's clear, we can take this, and then when he runs up to the position, actually it's about to happen right now, when he runs up to the position, you see that there's actually a team that's postured up there and they're waiting for a pick. This is an ideal situation for a team when you're playing a position like they were. Scurry hits a really nasty headshot on Sung, taking him down, but they get the bubble res, they get a portal out. Really good reset play. That was another big thing that we worked on, how to reset. So another big point that I know I've heard Hodsik talk about this before. I'm pretty sure I've heard Alistair talk about this before, the Meth. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that name, but I apologize if I'm butchering it. But one big thing that I know a lot of Apex Legends coaches harp on, and for some reason the players just don't listen to it. If you are not running a Wattson, you need to be careful with your shield heals and your poking. If you don't have that generator to get free shield heals back up, you can't burn all of your shield resources early on doing stupid pokes that aren't going to amount to any kills. Unless you're going to guarantee a kill from the poke damage you're getting, it's not always valuable to do that poke damage when you're going to be eating a whole bunch. That's the whole point of running a Gibraltar when you don't have a Wattson, or at least in my opinion, you should always run a Wattson if you don't have a Gibraltar for that exact reason. Gibraltar's really good for using that gun shield to poke out, and when he receives poke damage in return, it doesn't actually do it's not that detrimental because he's got that 50 health shield on his front, so he can take 50 damage before even worrying about it. And the only downside of that Gibraltar shield is that it'll even eat an entire Kraber shot because it's only 1 bullet, and it only takes that 1 bullet. So even though Krabers do 123 to Gibbies, if it hits that gun shield, all 123 damage will be absorbed by the gun shield, so that person just wasted a bullet. So right here, you're seeing them hold high ground, and they're taking a lot of poke damage. But one thing that you need to notice, if you look right under his map down there, you see he's only got 36 seconds left. Now, if you listen in, you can kind of hear their communications. They're saying that they need to start gatekeeping, this and that. Sung is saying they want to gatekeep. Stunny agrees with him. He's the IGL, so that's what they go for. Bird is kind of saying that we need to start worrying about the next rotation. And one big thing is you always need to know where you're going next. And I think that is a big part of their downfall that you're going to see here in a second. They didn't know exactly what they wanted to do next. He had a general idea, but he didn't really execute it at all. He didn't scout it. He didn't pre-portal. He didn't do anything. 5 seconds left, and they're still having a hard time deciding where they're going to go next. And they're hyper-focused on this team that's rotating around. Now, would 3KP be really nice? Sure, 3KP feels really good. But 12 KP feels a lot better when you win a game and actually make it to the end. So again, here, zone is literally closing in, and they haven't really fully discussed a plan, and here come the edge teams. Bubble comes in, pretty good timing on the bubble, maybe it was a little late, and then Stunny is forced to play solo and rat it out. Burns portal, burns wraith form, has no resources to deal with anything that comes his way, and then he's going to have to go ahead and rat it out for the rest of this game, and that's pretty much the end of it right there, so we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so right here, we got a really good zone pull to Skyhook, so we were able to sit for a good bit. I fast forwarded to round 3. I don't think this game was kind of uneventful in the start. Stunny is playing a pretty aggressive forward position here. He's trying to get scouting on his next rotation, which is really, really good. Gets a knock on, a knock on a freestyle, which Flashpoint was doing really, really good this tournament. They had a lot of really pop-off games. They played really well. So that was a big knock. And then he's trying to take this building so that he has time to scout and see where their next rotation is going to be. It's a strong play. It's definitely something you want to do. You never want to rotate unless you know what position you're going to be rotating to. But what ends up happening is not exactly good. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this is there are the holy trinity of foundation for Apex Legends competitive play, and that is communication, coordination, positioning. Positioning being the foundation of those three principles that pretty much encompasses the holy trinity, because I don't know if, again, maybe some other coaches would disagree with this, but I honestly think that a well-positioned team with 3 P2020s and 3 Mozambiques could almost beat any team with terrible positioning and amazing guns. Positioning is so big in Apex Legends especially. I mean, any Battle Royale is going to be the same way, but Apex Legends is so huge because of the dominant high grounds, the dominant buildings, the dominant circles that end up coming in this game. So it's really important that you have really strong positioning. So again, communication, coordination, positioning. That one in the middle there, coordination, another super important one. If your team is not coordinated and you're not all on the same page, which ties back into the first one, communication, then you're going to fall apart instantaneously. I.e. right here in a second, you're going to see it coming up. You've got Bird and Sung, which are still holding down the building pretty strong. Stunny's poking out, trying to get information, which is a Wraith's job. This is exactly what he should do. But you see that they start to scramble here. Stunny pulls the portal back, runs out into a position that, again, he thinks is free before scouting it, runs right into a team, has to drop portal, take it back. You see he's only got 1 cell. Starting to struggle, has to waste his battery. You see them, they're getting caught on the wall, and now, again, it's a fight between the teams that they're rotating into and the zone that's coming in behind them. So they're all starting to calm things, they get Bloodhound scanned. One person's worrying about the building in front, one person's worrying about market. The bubble comes out really, really early because of an early call. All of a sudden, they're shooting at different people. No one's talking, no one's calling anything out. Stunny goes completely silent, Sung goes completely silent. Everyone just loses communication, which in turn spoils all of their coordination. So now they're not on the same page. They don't have any of the information that they have. And now here we are back in the lobby, spectating somebody else, watching someone else win a game. So in that last game, obviously they died, so I'm just fast forwarding again. We're now into game 3 here. So I just wanted to go over that last step of the Holy Trinity. So we talked about positioning, talked about coordination. Now we'll talk about communication. So communication is obviously the key to everything. That's why it's on the top. It is, again, a very, very important step. Every step in the Holy Trinity is extremely important. You need all 3 of them if you want to be a successful Apex Legends team. In competitive, in ranked, in pubs, whatever it is, if it's just you and your friends stomping pub lobbies, this is a way to get better at it. If you want to climb up and be the #1 pred, then, you know, this is another good rule of thumb to follow. So communication being one of, you know, the one thing that ties in all the rest. If you don't have good communication, then no one on your team is ever going to know what you're doing. So they don't know your positional changes mid-fight. They don't know what shields are cracked. They don't know if you're healing. They don't know who you're shooting at. They don't know where you are. All those things are super, super important because Apex Legends, at the end of the day, is a team-based battle royale. You have to be working as a team. You have to be playing together if you want to win. Obviously, if you're playing pubs and you're watching my video just because you want to learn how to get a little better, but you don't ever plan on taking it any farther, then, you know, maybe in pubs you can probably solo queue, pop off, drop 25 kills and win the game, no problem. Granted, I don't think you're going to be able to get away with that in Diamond, Masters, Predator, depending on your skill level. It's, you know, it's not going to continue. You have to learn how to play the game smarter. And at this point, it's definitely communication. If you can, at the very least, get 2 random teammates that calm up with you, you're going to have a lot more success. Now, in the competitive field, if you're not communicating with your team, you're losing every single game. It's that simple. There's no way to win unless you have absolutely precise, coordinated communication. You need to know what your call-outs mean amongst each other. If you have different call-outs for different buildings, it's going to obscure your call-outs. You have to know what information your IGL cares and does not care about. That's another important one. If you're feeding your IGL all this information that he just doesn't need, like if I threw a grenade behind them, or I'm popping 1 cell and going back in, or smaller things that maybe your specific IGL doesn't need to know, doesn't want to know, that's just going to fog up comms, and then it might take away from a comm that is much more important, like I broke a shield, I got a knock, I'm about to go down, I need portal, things of that nature. The more important callouts that need to happen. Now right here, once again, if you see, they rotated extremely late off their first drop, gave me a really good opportunity to go right back to this why you need to get off your first drop much faster. This is exactly why. As I said before, they are contesting drop with Rogue, Liquid, and Complexity. All three teams not even slightly scared to take a 3v3, especially Complexity. Complexity was kind of was NA's leader in pioneering the aggressive playstyle in the NA Apex Legends scene. And they knew that they were dropping Epicenter and Survey Camp, and yet they still took a super late rotation and ran right to them. Now here, again, the coordination, because of the communication, all falls apart. We're running out of zone. We're trying to wrap all the way to Skyhook. I'm not going to turn it up, but you hear Sung repeatedly saying that they're on me, they're chasing, they're still behind me. And if you watch here in a couple seconds, you see his health start to drop. He's getting shot. I believe he's taking some triple take shots in the back, and then they clean him up pretty quick. Stunny starts doing some desperation stuff. Bird drops a desperation portal, and at the point where the zone is on them, they're already one down, and they don't have Dome to fight with, is when they decide that they want to start taking this fight. It was too late of a call, too late of a play, and everything was made in desperation. At the end of the day, they let another team set the pace of their own fight, and that is how you lose every single time, especially to a team like Complexity. All right, so once again, we fast forwarded to the next game. This one is, I'm not too sure how this one turns out, but I would like to go over something that happened that I spoke about just a moment ago, and that is dictating the pace of your fights. A lot of different ways you can do this, and I'm sure a lot of coaches and players approach this in a lot of different ways, but dictating the pace essentially means that you're fighting when you want to fight, at the speed that you want to fight, and the distance that you want to fight. So you're controlling all the different spaces in a gunfight. That being said, different ways that you can do that. So you can be the aggressor, and that way the other team doesn't have time to act, they only have time to react. So that you're putting them immediately off the start on the back foot, so that they're not the ones that get to choose when the fight starts, where the fight takes place, all those different kinds of things. Number two, a good way that you can do it is opening with some resources. So in our instance here with Did We Make It, a big thing that we always harped on because we were really, really strong in bubble fights. That's Gibraltar's Dome Shield, for those of you that don't know. So we always like to engage with bubble. That way, when we bubble in, we know that we're already at the advantage because we have the bubble to fight with, and as long as we're close enough range, they're either going to be forced into the bubble with us, or they're going to be forced outside of the bubble, i.e. giving up their space, and that gives us the space to control. And there, once again, we're dictating the pace of the fight. We're making them backstep as we're moving forward and controlling the space. Now, outside of that, there are tricks you can do with portals like kidnaps and flanks, and there are things you can do with caustic gas or Gibraltar barrages, things like that. Pathfinder grapples, if you're into Pathfinder, that can engage the fight in different ways and force the fight to move in different directions. But I would say overall, you just want to make sure that you're always making the first move, and you want to be reactionary as little as possible. You always want to be the one that engages the fight, takes the space, and keeps the enemy on the back foot as long as possible. Now, with all of that being said, I just want to go back to one other thing, which is space, what it actually is, and how to control it. So space is essentially all of the ground and the posture that you're taking either around your position or on your rotation. So take, for example, the position that they're playing right now. They're top harvester. They've got a pretty good spread. They're a little close, a little bunched up, considering that they could split hold both balconies, which I think they are talking about right now. But essentially their space is not only the position they're in, which is up top on the balconies of harvester, but it's also the ground beneath them, because they can control that space from high ground with their hemlocks, their wingmans, whatever the case is. And then the space just outside of their position as well, because they're posturing up and spreading themselves out to the point where they have view and control over everything that goes on around their location. That would be their space. They are in control of that space, and that is something that enemy teams will have to vie for if they want to take a fight with them. So a good way to counter this is to either sneak play, play really quiet, just walk up, no sprinting, get into your enemy's team space, take them by surprise, or, you know, Apex's audio is so garbage sometimes that you might be able to sprint full speed, grapple, Wraith Portal, Gibby Barrage, shoot guns, everything right up until you're behind a team, and they still might not hear you. So, you know, that being said, back to controlling space. Like I said, any space that you can see, you can control as long as you have the guns and the capabilities for it. So, as you see here, Stunny has a Hemlock and an R99 that opens up a lot of variety for space control. He's going to be able to fire with the Hemlock at mid to long range and control all that space out to about 100 meters. And then he's got the R9 in case a team invades his space and he needs to press them back. I'm going to take a pause break because I want to talk about what's going on right here in just a second once I'm done explaining space. Now, if you can take the fight and contest the team at the mid-range, at the edge of their space, then once you get a shield crack, get a knock, maybe back them off, or if you bully them enough to scare them away from their position, you immediately want to prioritize taking that space away from them, which could either mean taking the position that they were in and doing the same thing they were doing, but back to them on the reverse because they're going to be moving back, or just moving into the space in a separate position, but that has control over that same space and gives you the ability to fight them off of it if they want to try and retake it. So that space control is very important because that's going to prevent teams from rotating through. That's going to open up a lot of kill point opportunities, and that's also going to open up the time for you to evolve your Evo shields and always have information on the space that you're controlling. So that way you always know what teams are where, what rotations are coming through, different things of that nature. All right, now right here, since I've been ragging on Stunny and the Did We Make It boys, they did play they played pretty well. They just made a lot of mistakes. I think they were nervous at their first major tournament, so nothing but props to them. Loved coaching them, had a great time working with them. Things happen. So right here, this is actually a positive. The way they take this position and the way they control it and take the fight on their terms at their pace is perfect. They didn't necessarily engage the fight, but they forced the other team to engage them, which is another way to dictate the pace of a fight. You see he's getting some decent sprays down, keeping enough damage on the enemy team to keep them up on the high ground. Now, usually high ground or low ground to high ground fights are not something that you want to take, but with the knowledge they have that the zone is coming in behind them and their only way out is to either run back past them to in the open to where they can take shots at them or push into them is the information that they're using to make sure that they control the pace of this fight and they don't let this team take advantage of that. Now, with the bubble coming out, that forces the enemy team to run out of their bubble that's out of zone and run into the bubble that they just put down, which pretty much forces them into either 3 Mastiffs or 2 R9s. So no matter what, that was pretty much a fight win that was really well played by the boys here. Really proud of that moment. I was out of my chair. I was freaking out. I was having a great time. That was definitely an awesome fight to watch. I loved every bit of it. So definitely props on them. And then another thing that we worked on is how to reset after a fight's over. This is another big one. So again, other coaches, don't rag on me too hard in the comments, but I think the biggest thing that you need to do after a fight is make sure that your guns are up. Make sure that your guns are reloaded. It only takes a second to get both your guns reloaded to make sure that you're ready for the next fight. Number 2 is going to be your shields. Make sure that your shields are up, whether that be shield swapping, popping a bat, doing cells like he's doing right now. But as long as the whole time you're communicating with your teammates, letting them know that you are healing, you are shield swapping, whatever it is, then you're fine. And then the last thing is going to be rezzing or looting, which is getting your teammate up if he's been knocked, or grabbing your heals, ammo, all that other stuff, swapping guns, whatever the case is, off of boxes heavily. Obviously, if you're just going in for a shield swap, that can be done in the earlier step, but you want to make sure that those other steps are ticked off first, just to make sure that you're not getting ran up on and you're just not ready to fight. That means not having bullets in your gun, which is pretty big part of taking a fight. So right here, another pretty good play from them. I would say it was a little messy, but I think at the end of the day it worked out. And sometimes in Apex Legends, if you're a coach, you can't always coach for every single situation that goes on. He hits a really good spray, and Sung follows up with a knock there. And then Stunny makes the call to portal his team from out of zone into zone, seeing as how there's all this fighting going on. Not a bad play at all. You definitely want the safest way to get in. He gets right onto this Bloodhound, notice he's popping the bat, and he is so lucky that Bloodhound was already fleshed before he got in. Calling for help multiple times. His teammates were a little late getting in there. I don't think they took the portal. They ran up. And then right here, as you see, gets his armor up, gets his gun reloaded, starts posturing up looking for a fight. He knows that his position is safe, so he starts going for heals. His teammates do the same thing, and the whole time they're calling out positions. Where are the enemy teams? Where are they safe? All this good stuff. So this was a really good fight. Really quick, really clean-ish. I won't say really clean, but it was clean enough. And then they're immediately resetting. The only thing I would say here that we can do a little bit better, 1, loot faster. 2, make sure that all 3 of you aren't looting at the exact same time, because that's just going to, your position isn't postured at all. Anyone could walk up on you, no problem, and take you out without too much of an issue. So all in all, I'm not going to go into too many more games. I think we've gone over enough things that it can be educational for everyone watching, as well as the players on the team. We've already been over all of this stuff together, so they already know all of this. But moving forward, I'm definitely going to be making something a little more in-depth, where I'm going to go from start to finish of a game. This was just kind of an overview of the first, I think, like 4 or 5 games, because I thought it would be good to just get something out on YouTube, get some coaching stuff out there for you guys, so that I can start getting back into this. I really want to get back into coaching. I think coaching is a lot of fun. It's definitely my favorite thing to do with Apex Legends. So I hope you all learned a lot. And again, just to touch on, if there's one thing that you take away from this video, it's the Holy Trinity: communication, coordination, positioning. If you have those 3 things, you can definitely find some success. Every single one ties into the other. And if you can work those into your play style with either your friends in pubs, your friends in ranked, or maybe your team in competitive play, you're going to go really far. So this has been Ninja Cowboy, your favorite Apex Legends coach. And peace.